I need to do a sound check. See if everyone be able to hear me. He should be calling back shortly.
You on live right now?
Yeah, I went ahead and went live.
You just on your page or your?
Trying to change my camera on here because there we go. Yeah, what? Her medicine? Oh, I got something on my shirt. You got me a towel. I got something on my shirt and it's white. Things don't look great.
Like you just got finished.
Yeah. You be a disrespect, wow. Okay. So I see myself there. I can't hear myself. Oh wait, there we go.
The dry or something. This is the dry wet. It's dry up.
No, wait. So I see myself there. I can't hear myself. Oh my god. I was eating earlier. Oh my god. I was eating earlier.
Can you see me here? Good.
I'm trying to mute myself. Okay. Let me slow down my mind because I'm starting to get irritated. I'm trying to mute myself. Let me slow down my mind because I'm starting to get irritated. I forget I'm running off the StreamYard and I'm really trying to operate
An offender at the Eastern Reception and Diagnostic Center. This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded. To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse this free call, thank you for using Security. Offender at the Eastern Reception and Diagnostic Center. This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded. To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse this free call, press 2. If you would like to permanently block your thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Hey. Are you back on here? Can you hear me? Hello? 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 Maybe the phone went out. All right, we're going to try it again.
Free call from an offender at the Eastern Reception and Diagnostic Center. This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded. To accept, thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I was wondering if we was going to be able to get you. I'm like, what happened the first time?
Yeah, I'm adamant, so I'm coming back.
Okay, cool. So I got everything set up right now. I'm just waiting on a few people to get in the room. Hopefully they come join us. But if not, we're going to keep the show going. We're going to keep the plans the same. I think we good. Go. Oh, let's do a sound check real quick. So I'm going to put you on the mic, and I'm going to have somebody else check to see if they can hear you clearly, okay?
All right.
Okay. He good? Should I do something to make him louder? Good.
No, you good.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, I guess we could go ahead and get started. I'm going to play a quick intro, and then we'll go ahead and do my intro and then go into the questions, okay?
Okay.
All righty then. Just hold up with me.
An offender at the Eastern Reception and Diagnostic Center. This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded. To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse this, thank you for using Security.
Welcome to In the World of Tom's Cell Block Hotline, sponsored by the St. Louis Argus newspaper. This evening is our last segment for this interview, sitting down with Mr. Vincent Cooley of Kansas City, Missouri. We're going to talk to him and allow those that happen to tune in and slide in this room tonight to ask some questions of their own. Hopefully you have been able to catch the last two episodes or the last two parters that I was able to put on YouTube in order for you all to get caught up on Mr. Cooley's story. And tonight we're just going to let him review everything that he's told us and give us a little bit more insight in regards to the actual act that happened in the actual day, and allow him the space and opportunity to say some last few things to you guys and open up the floor for any questions that you may have for him. And feel free to like, subscribe, and share, and have other people join in on this conversation with us. All right. All right, Vincent, you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Cool. How are you feeling today?
I'm okay. Another day. So, just one day at a time. That's what I always been doing.
All right. So before we get deeper into the questions that I have for you, on a personal, more transparent level, how has doing these interviews and having a conversation with me been making you feel?
It's really just a way for me to release. A lot of things I've dealt with over the last 20 plus years is it's more about me holding things in and less about me expressing myself about how I feel. So I'm kind of relieved in a lot of ways because like I say, I'm able to get more of a voice of what I want to be narrated about who I am and what I've done and what I know, the truth of. Some things, you hold to yourself, and other things, you release. I feel like this is one of the things I need to release. So I'm thankful, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. Like I said before, taking the time out. I mean, I'm sure there's other people that'll tune in later and be like, what else he got to do? He ain't doing nothing in there but reading books. But you still had a choice to be able to sit down and converse with me, and you decided to do that. And we don't know how you telling your story over again is going to rehash some old feelings, maybe. So if anything was to come your way, I would definitely feel responsible. So I just want to say my thank you as well. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being able to spread the word around the prison in order to allow other people to have a chance to speak as well too. So thank you.
You're welcome.
You.
No problem.
Okay, so to get started into the questions, where we left off, on our second part, you did discuss some mental health issues within the justice system. The fact that the justice system does not offer these resources outside or push these resources as hard as they should be. We also discussed the opioid pandemic or epidemic that's going through the jail cell with the fentanyl and all of those things. I know things haven't changed overnight, but what is it looking like today in the prison?
Man, prison is a cesspool for society's problems. You name it, it's going on, and there's no way for anyone to really find any, how would I say? I would say way to change. Like it was being.
Uh-huh.
it's things are being fed and swept up under the rug around here. Like I would say in the last year, maybe it's been probably 300 or 400 ODs. Probably 7 to 8 of them ended in death. And a lot of people get pushed in and out of here in ambulance. So, that's what they do about the epidemic. And then most of the time, it ain't even really about what the inmate is doing. It's about what they don't want to know or what they don't want to get outside of the prison system. So, I don't really deal with them issues. I'm not really a part of that crowd. So, but I got eyes and ears, and I just know it's a problem. It's a serious problem. But there's other problems in here. There's all kind of problems that circulate within here. When they send you to prison for having problems on the street, they put you in a place where everybody else got the same problems you got, which is prison. So you get to fuel each other's problems. You get to live off each other's issues and, feed each other's faith. If that's what you choose to do, that's how you choose to live your life.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I know that we spoke yesterday, and I was telling you about watching 60 Days In and just trying to get a better visual and better understanding of exactly what the prison on the inside looked like. Can you kind of give us a little virtual imagination, a little walk through it?
I walk through prison.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like think of a college campus, except it has gates, electrical gates surrounding it. It has barbed wire fences separating each part of it. You have walkways. This ain't the camp. I was once at the camp. They had gun towers and stuff, but here where I'm at currently, it's just more of a college campus that has a lot of different doors. And each door has a place you can go to. Let me think. A living community, elderly living communities, they be showing on television. That's probably as far as I didn't. Elderly living facilities, except they got steel doors with locks on them. But don't think of the old 1970s movies where you got the bars and stuff. Think of more 21st century correctional where they got walls, lights, desks in the cells. They got bunks. They got AC, and it sounds, all these things sound like it's convenient, but you have no control over any of it. So therefore, it's not at your convenience.
So sometimes it'd be cold. Sometimes it'd be cold. Sometimes it'd be too hot.
It'd be too hot, and you got to just deal with the conditions in which you're being placed in because you can't turn the thermometer down.
Right.
You can't open your door when you feel like it. And that's prison. It's not made for anything other than that. But so, just think of a place that's meant to cage you when you're meant to be caged. Release you when it's meant for you to go places you need to be. And then you go right back to your cage. It's not complicated.
It sounds like animals. It sounds like animals living in a facility or attempting to live in a facility. Do you feel like that? Do they make you feel that kind of way? I mean, because you got to remember, a lot of our visuals come off based off of movies and things.
Well, of course. I mean, anytime that you are a person who has knowledge of what freedom is supposed to feel like,
right?
It's been taken from you, but recognizing your own part in whatever you're dealing with. You understand that, you're not going to have the type of freedoms you are accustomed to, but there is a displacement in how people are being treated as individuals, as men. You could be a 40, 50-year-old, 60-year-old man, and you got a 19, 20-year-old guard, who can address you in a way that reduces you down to a child.
Right.
And there's no respect for for just a man being a man, and that's probably the biggest problem you're gonna recognize when it comes to the kind of correctional policing they doing here. It causes a lot of confusion because You're dealing with people who come from different backgrounds, and a lot of people who work within these places. Like, these places are mainly put in areas where once upon a time there was no economy, and everybody in that town or that area was desperate for employment. So the government puts a prison there and allows them to play overseer. And playing overseer means that they don't bring they values of seeing what they basically watch on television and reading magazines in these rural areas, because we know, let's keep it real, we in Missouri, it's a Republican state, so the views and values are going to be different than what you're going to encounter in a metropolitan area or a city area. You know what I'm saying? So, and then there's going to be a conflict because there's going to be stereotypes. You know, they're going to consider you a thug or a hood or whatever, even if you are someone who is educated, or, you know, you're in prison for whatever you're in prison for. But, you know, there's more to you, but they only see the layer in which has you in prison and which they are meant to govern over you with. So if you have a certain age, they're going to say you're going to be sagging, you're going to be listening to rap music, you have no real rhetoric, you know, and they're going to treat you along them lines. And then if you try to correct them in their opinion of you, then it becomes the issue. So, I mean, you know, these are things that we constantly deal with when it comes to the lack of diversity in the correctional officers. Like, most of them don't look like the people who basically rotate within these walls. You know what I'm saying? Most people in here are black.
Right.
You know, most people, he's not saying there ain't white people in here, and, you know, but, you know, let's keep it real. You know, that's not who this place caters to. You know.
Yeah, but watching a TV show like 60 Days In, I'm realizing there is a problem with overpopulation because they speak on that. But when we think about the breakdown and the math of it all, it seems like Black people are overpopulating the system, but yet it's really not that many Black people in the world to begin with. Like, there's more white people in the world than there is Black people. I don't know if that statistic is still right, but that's what my understanding was just a few years ago.
You mean the United States?
Right.
I don't think it's more white for the United States. Yeah. Well, no, what it is and 50 Days In is about, that's the county jail. So that's not the same thing.
You did say that. Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where you go when you're dealing with the courts and looking to avoid incarceration, or, you know, they're going to incarcerate you at some point for getting found guilty or not guilty on your crime. So the county jail is a holdover. Sometimes 6 months, sometimes 3 years, or whatever. When you get to prison, the dynamics change. Prison is where they plan on housing you for years at a time. So when you get here, it's kind of like, this is where you at. This may be the place you die. You know, make yourself at home. You know, that's simple as that. You know, there's no speculation on whether or not you're going home tomorrow once you get in here.
Right.
In the county jail, you can make bonds, and, you know, you can get signature bonds, make bonds. You can, you know, you still have hope that you don't have to spend the rest of your life in prison or any time in prison. But once you get to prison, especially in level 5, you pretty much know that this is where your home going to be at for at least 10 years.
Right. Well, I know regarding our first 2 parts that we put out on YouTube, I had a few questions myself, and then I received a few phone calls in regards to some questions. And, you know, telling the full story can be extremely complex. But what we need to know is exactly that, the full story. What exactly happened? If you're ready to talk about it, what exactly happened? Let's start from the morning that you woke up. You going to get some gas, maybe. I'm hypothetically speaking. I'm just giving you an example, and then so on, so forth. Walk us through what happened.
Okay, well, the morning this situation took place, it was November 9th, 2002. And I woke up like any other morning. I don't even think I had been to sleep because at the time I wasn't really getting a lot of sleep. I was kind of excited of being out of prison. I had only been out of prison for maybe 2.5 weeks at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of like kicking it a lot. You know, I was enjoying being free. So I really wasn't getting a lot of good sleep, and I was drugging. You know, I was using drugs, and I was smoking marijuana, PCP. And I guess the combination of that, along with the conditions of my mind frame, which was I had been released from prison for a homicide, and I was found not guilty for a homicide. But the thing about being a person who has been engaged in activities that, you know, they probably alien to a lot of people, but in the world where I existed at, you know, you go back to the same environments where your problems exist. You know, unless you have the type of revenue to move yourself away from certain things, then you will be basically circulating the same environment in which all your problems exist in. So that puts a wear and tear on your mind when you have been gone like 3 flat years and your mind wasn't able to exercise the fight or flight system that it operates on when you live in society prior to me going to prison. So I want to put that out there because a lot of things took place prior to that morning mentally with me. Mm-hmm. And I was overlooking it, and I was overlooking it because as a man, you don't want to believe that it's something wrong with you when there's something wrong with you. You know, you want to be able to say, I'm going to push through it, I'm going to figure it out, and whatever else you tell yourself to get through. So, but I didn't realize also that, you know, that using drugs and everything was making things worse because, you know, it's therapeutic in a lot of ways. And I don't want to make an excuse for using drugs, but, you know, a lot of people deal with things in their own way. Mine was using drugs at that point.
Right.
So, but anyway, I woke up that morning. I remember when I woke up, my little brother had actually woke me up. And he wanted me to take his lady home. So I got up and put on some clothes, and we took her home. We ran around the street for a while. It was still morning time, so we went by one of my other houses in North Kansas City, whatever. I had to feed my dog. I had me and my wife, we had animals.
Uh-huh.
So I went over to my house, and I was feeding the dogs, feeding the birds and things, making sure they had their food. While we was there, you know, we smoked a little reefer, hung out. We both passed out. I remember waking up at some point, and I could tell we had been sick for a long time. And basically the day had went past. So when I looked at my phone, I seen missed messages on it. So I looked at the phone. I called the phone back, and my wife was like, "Baby, you need to get home so we can go to your mother's house because she wants to cook for your brother." So I said, okay. So we hop in the car, we shoot to the house. And when we went to the house, my wife was waiting on us or whatever, so we hopped in the truck or whatever, and we left. We go to my mother's house. My mother liked to always cook for her sons when, you know, we would have our releases from whatever we were dealing with. Her and my sister, they would like to cook for us. Uh-huh. So they would, you know, chicken, whatever it is. And so that was the night was in the beginning. So we hung out at my mother's house, you know, eating, you know, hanging out. When I was in prison, my mother was telling me about that movie Life that had came out, right? So,
when did it come out? When did Life come out?
Well, I seen it in 2002.
That's 1999. It came out in 1999.
Well, I didn't see it until 2002.
Oh, wow. So, okay.
I was gone from 99 to 2002. Mm-hmm. So, you know, my mother had come to me like, Vince, you got to watch this movie. It's funny, this and that. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to check it out when I get out. She said, I got it on DVD. That was true. But this is how long ago it was. The DVD was popular. So, while we were at the house, we watched the movie. And I remember my wife whispering in my ear, she had to, we had to leave because she had some business to take care of. So I was kind of upset that I was going to be missing the movie that I had already invested like about an hour into watching, and I was enjoying the movie. So my initial response, I told her to just go and come on back and get me. And she said, well, nah, I don't want to go like that because I don't know if I'm going to make it out here this night. So I was like, all right. So I remember she told me, well, tell your mama, that we going to leave. I said, nah, you tell her because you want to leave. I want to watch the movie. So it was one of them situations where it was a marriage thing. It was more about me not wanting to leave, watch the movie, whatever. But so I got up, had a little attitude, I guess you could say, but it wasn't really nothing serious. I wouldn't say. But we got up, said goodbye to my mother. My mother tell me today that I didn't say that to her. I don't remember. I can't really say whether that's fact or not. I might have it. I might have. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember we left though, and I drove, and I had got these contacts at the time. I wear glasses, so I had got these contacts. And I remember the drive when I was driving, my eyes was blurring real bad, and I was doing a little swerve. So while I'm driving, I remember my wife and my brother, they was like, hey, man, you swerve. You need to slow down and this and that. So they were kind of like nagging me in my ear a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So I was, I got it. So I'm dealing with my eyes blurring. I'm dealing with, driving, trying to stay focused. I got a little buzz. I remember we pulled up into my driveway into the complex where we stayed at, and when I pulled in, it was a bunch of guys sitting in the parking lot, and I could see the cherries on whatever they were smoking. And I'm pulling now. Now this is a place where my wife moved, where I would be away from my normal stomping ground.
Yeah.
So I was in my mind when we was living there, I was safe. Right, I didn't feel the need to be looking all over and watching out all the time, or whatever. So when I pulled in, and these guys was in the middle of the parking space, in the middle of the parking lot where I was trying to get past them, and they was like taking their time trying to leave, or trying to move, or whatever. So I'm like, I'm hunting the horn, like watch out! It's like damn near 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, get out the street. What are y'all doing out here at 1 o'clock in the morning? So we pull in. When I get out I pulled into the curb, and I told my wife, my brother, I said, go on, get out, man, going up to the house, I'm about to park. So when I was parking, I got out the car, I looked over, and I saw my brother and my wife was still on the curb. And I was like, I wonder why they ain't went up in the house like I told them to. So when I got out the car, though, I heard somebody yell my name, and it's coming from the area of when we just came in and them guys were sitting in the middle of the parking area. So I don't know nobody out here. In my mind, I'm like, who will be calling me at 1 o'clock in the morning and who can identify me from just looking at me at nighttime and call me by my name?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, so I'm looking, I'm like, what's up, who that? And I see the guys walking toward me, and I'm standing up under the lamp. So I see my wife and my brother sitting over on the curb, and I see the guy coming toward me. So I'm looking or whatever, and as they get closer, I noticed one of them. I knew one of them. I might have knew both of them, but I knew one for sure. I grew up with him. Anyway, when I seen him, I instantly got upset and paranoid. Not because of him, because I realized at that moment that we couldn't stay here no more.
Right.
This is a guy who, to me, this is a guy who has a connection to a world that I don't want around me where I lay my head at. So I talked to him for a few minutes or whatever, and I leave. But when I leave, I will admit I had an attitude for real. And in that attitude, I was deducing all possibilities because that's the kind of mind I have. I got a mind that operates like that. If I see anything or recognize anything, I'm thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about the unknowns and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So while I'm having these thoughts, I walked to my brother and my wife, and I say, man, why y'all ain't went up in the house, man? You know what I'm saying? So, and they was like, well, you got the key. So I realized how simple that was. So I said, all right, we gone. So we go to the crib, and I unlocked the door. For some reason, man, at that moment, something overwhelmed me in a form of, I don't want to say it was fear, but it was a paranoia that existed in my mind and in my heart.
Yeah.
And I don't know what created that at that moment, but I just know that for some reason I didn't feel safe. Now, I only know that now because at the time, a lot of things that I'm telling you right now, I wasn't able to talk about back then because for some reason my mind had completely shut down and I really wasn't able to really articulate anything up to that point. You know, it's like when I did what I did, my mind didn't want to remember that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't in my heart. It wasn't something I intended to do, but it happened.
Right.
And when I made that action, it's like for me to protect what I had and did and what I had to endure going forward, I shut down mentally, and a lot of things was strictly blacked out of my mind. And over the years, pieces then came back, and I was able to piece back together situations after situations that took place that night. But at the end of the day, when we made it into the apartment, I remember looking at my brother, looking at my wife, and I said, I need to go lay down, man. And I remember my wife telling me, she said, man, take the dog out. He ain't been out. So I went to the laundry room to get the dog out, and my wife was like, I'm about to leave. I said, well, why don't you go take the dog out and just drop me back off when you leave? I'm about to go lay down. So when I went to lay down in my room, I forgot that morning that I had laid one of my guns on my bed, and I had covered it up. So when I covered the gun up, I hadn't been back to my house all day, so I don't realize that when I laid on my bed, I was laying on my gun. Now, before I went to my room, though, I remember my wife telling my little brother, what's wrong with your brother? And she was like, go see what he's doing, or go see something. In my mind, I'm still tripping out the dude in the parking lot, still having this paranoid feeling, but I don't know how to basically, I don't know what I'm dealing with mentally at this moment. But when I get to my room, I lay on my bed and I land on my gun. So when I land on my gun, it kind of hurts. So I'm rubbing my back, and when I got up, I picked the gun up. And as soon as I picked the gun up, my little brother had bent the corner.
Yeah.
And when he bent the corner, he saw me with the gun. And when he saw me with the gun, he said, man, what's wrong with you, man? What you doing? I'm like, what are you talking about? And when I'm looking at him, and I got the gun in my hand, he came and tried to snatch the gun out of my hand. And when he did that, I don't know what I was thinking at that moment, but I know what I had endured prior to that. Now, if some people might think it's not connected, I believe it is, because I would never just wrong my brother like I did.
Right.
This on GP, this is my baby brother. We got the same mother, same father, same grandparents, same ancestral background. You know, I raised him in a lot of ways. I love him, you know, but at that moment, when he tried to take the gun out of my hand and he tried to do it so forcefully, I don't know what possessed me at that moment to not see him as my brother.
Right.
Now, it sounds cold, but like I say, there's different sets of rules, and there's different ways the person can be shut off. I didn't know that was one of mine. If you try to take a gun out of my hand, I'm going to change my viewpoint. I didn't. That's what happened. So when my brother tried to take the gun out of my hand, I angered. I raged. I instantly raged. And I don't know if it was out having all the stuff on my mind. It was on my mind. But that's what happened. And I shot. When I shot, that released other things that my past had reflected, I believe. And at that point, he was only guilty of being at the wrong place at the wrong time. And my wife was only guilty of being my wife and loving me. Because neither one of them deserved what they got, but my mental capacity didn't allow me to see any difference at that moment. And for that reason, you know, they ended up dead, man.
Well, I have a question online that's asking what type of gun was it, and for me, how did you get in possession of whatever said gun that you had?
So, I mean, you gotta remember this though. For the first question, the gun was AK-47.
Oh wow.
Uh, 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 Being in possession of guns is not something that's hard to do, and it ain't got nothing to do with being illegal or none of that. It's just they guns. If I lived in the country, everybody got guns. When you live in the city, you get locked up for everybody who got guns get locked up, especially if or you ain't got no business with one in the eyes of the law. I sit up and I watch television a lot, and I see 9-year-old kids walking around in their communities with rifles. I watched the little kid. I watched a 16-year-old kid not long ago try to turn himself in after he killed 2 people at a march. And they overlooked him with a rifle on his back, and basically he tried to give himself to him. So I mean, like with the gun was the AK-47, and where I got the gun at it was actually bought. It was bought legitimately.
So it wasn't illegally owned, and it wasn't possessed by a felon, or was it? Well, I can't. Can I ask you stuff like that?
I mean, unless they got statute of limitation on questions and answers.
Okay. So if that's the case, I mean, was it a possession by felon, or felon of possession? I don't know. I can't say it like they do in the news.
I was locked up before them laws came into effect with the federal government, but technically nowadays, yeah, it would have been a federal charge for me to have a weapon, being a felon in possession of a firearm. But the gun was bought legitimately by a person with no felonies. How I got it, and only people who don't got guns who live in the streets are people who are faking, are playing, and because and that's the wrong side of the gun, and so it's just they guns don't kill you, people do.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of campaigns have said in the past, that guns don't kill you, people do. But sometimes when people ain't in the right mind, as we've learned, it is dangerous to possess. And I know that with them trying to change up on the gun laws and things like that, I know that for certain people, it creates a fear. So we do have another question. How did it feel at the moment holding the gun? So once you picked up that gun after noticing that you laid on it, what did it feel like picking it up and then aiming it at your brother?
Well, the thing was, initially I didn't. It felt like a gun I had felt before. I'm guns are you learn, you start having guns young in the city. When, I didn't grow up normally, and that's not putting too on the team. When I say that, I didn't grow up like a normal child. Even though I had a normal upbringing, I had a loving mother. I had people around me who loved me, but
right.
The environment didn't love me. The people in the environment who had problems and issues, they didn't love me. So, that was something different. Now, I didn't aim the gun at my brother originally. I had the gun in my hand, and my little brother tried to snatch the gun out of my hand. And then it became a situation where I mentally left the situation and didn't see him as my brother, obviously, at that moment.
Right.
Now, after that moment, I probably came back to my senses and realized what the hell I just do. But at that moment that he tried to take the gun out of my hand, something triggered within me. Something was wrong with me at that moment, and I had no idea, the things that was wrong with me at that moment, because I had never looked into it. I had never dealt with anything mentally that I was going through that I was suppressing from myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came out the wrong way. You know.
Yeah.
It was never intended, but the actions don't tell that story, because there's always the questions like that where, like, you know, it's where a person assumes that there was thought involved. And you can literally move in a way where your mind is unconscious to his action.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes what they call it blacking out. So there are cases where you can black out, and then being on a drug or a certain type of drug can definitely cause you to do that. And I mean, if you're in a different state of mind frame, then, you know, I think that's an avenue that can be factual. I have another question here. So we're being asked, what advice would you give to the young men that's going down the same path that you went down?
Man, buy my book when it's ready. Because it's gonna be a teaching tool. It's gonna be the Bible for the wayward child. It's gonna be the Bible for the drug addict, the Bible for the gangbanger, the Bible for the institutionalized. It's gonna be the Bible for those who seeking knowledge of where they're headed if you choose to travel this road.
Right.
My story is not a happy ending. You know what I mean? There's nothing happy about my story. You know, the moments I've ever smiled throughout my life only ended with sadness. So therefore, there's no happy endings in a story like mine. So when anybody chooses to do anything that resembles anything I've done, all I can tell them is, look how my life turned out.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to know more about how my life turned out, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be done telling the story.
Yeah. And that's understandable. Keep talking about it, especially as you progress and you grow from this. I want to take a moment to read to our audience or those tuning in that may not have had the chance to go and research you, to actually know what the news put out there back in 2002, 2005. So let's say back in the Kansas City Star. Again, I'm sharing my screen right now. I know that you cannot see. So for those that are tuning in, I am sharing my screen currently, and I have pulled up the news article of Mr. Vincent Cooley and the incident that happened. Now, because this incident happened almost 33 years ago, this is cited by a third party news site, which is citing the Kansas City Star to give them credit. But there's no recent information on this. And so what I'm giving to you guys has already been put out here years ago. So real quick, it reads that a Kansas City, Missouri man who told authorities he killed his wife and brother because he caught them kissing. Because I keep getting this thing on my screen. So anybody seeing that, I know it's ghetto, and I know I'm keep clicking it off. Just ignore it. Act like it don't keep popping up. Oh, and there it go again. Okay. Give me a second here. I'm going to clear it. All right. He caught them kissing. We're going to scoot this over here. He caught them kissing and was sentenced Friday to 2 life terms plus 100 years. Vincent D. Cooley, 27 at that time, pleaded guilty in August to 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of armed criminal action in May 2002 deaths of Melody Cooley, 21, and Antoine Cooley, 19. Both were shot with a rifle, and Melody Cooley's throat was cut. The killings happened in the home all 3 shared in Kansas City. Relatives said that after accepting a plea bargain under which prosecutors reduced the murder charges from first degree to second degree, Vincent Cooley told them he lied about seeing the victims kissing. Melody Cooley's relatives told the Kansas City Star that they accepted the plea agreement but wished Vincent Cooley had gotten the death penalty. There will never be closure. This is just the end of another chapter, said Christina Bauman, Melody Cooley's mother. When I read that, how does that make you feel?
It reminded me call keep in mind. You know, it reminds me of my youth. It reminds me of my immaturity. It reminds me of a lot of things that affected me back then that I wish didn't. So a lot of things that's going on today with this. A lot of relationships that I should have today don't exist coming back then. You know, it made people cover up, you know, the love I gave you know, and shut down and only give me, you know, no part of it no more. You know, I don't have relationships or friendships anymore of meaning. You know, have behind anything. So, you know, what I heard was a 24-year-old man, when I got the time or whatever, but 24 when I actually committed the crime. What I heard was a 24-year-old man who was troubled, you know, who was inflicted by, you know, a lifetime of issues that manifested itself. And me being who I was back then, not knowing how to articulate my conditions, you know, chose to lie. I chose to lie about, you know what I'm saying, what I felt was required in order for me to get the least possible outcome that I knew I was looking at for my actions. You know, it's strange to hear that because, you know, a lot of things that took place back then was hidden from me. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the media and a lot of the things that I was being told about later, you know, I wasn't privy to those things. Like, they was going on around me. You know, they kept me so medicated at the time that, you know, the world was moving around me. I was just moving in the world.
Yeah. Well, we have a question after reading that. We do have a question here that if it wasn't your wife or brother, would you feel bad about this happening?
I think I don't think it would be a situation for me to think of if it wasn't them because I mean, you know what the downside is to living in a different world than the rest of the world. Like, and when I say that, I say that because, you know, I wasn't a all the way good person. Like, I love people. I have people I love, but I also lived in the streets. And in the streets, everybody that you most likely in contact with has a darkness to their character. And that darkness can manifest in multiple ways. So, you know, by it being my brother and my wife, for me, it was a clear indication that I was off my rocker. I wasn't in my right mind. Had it been somebody else, I would probably feel like my actions was I had cause to do that because I would never do nothing to nobody like that unless I had a reason in my own mind that would make me be like, okay, this how I'm going to do this individual for what they did.
Right.
You know, it probably don't make sense to people who don't live like that, but it makes sense to people who do. You know what I mean? It's one of them things where, you know, you would have to be there to really have an understanding on what I mean.
Yeah.
And none of these things are meant for me. I'm not really never trying to put that type of person out because that's not who I am. You know, that's who I was, and I own that. It ain't going nowhere. People gonna only see me for who they want to see me as. But there was many layers to my character and personality that people overlook. So I only acknowledge the one that gives them a point of view to categorize me in the way they want to depict me.
Right.
You know, if you can only see the value in that over the value in the character that I possess outside of that, then you will realize that person was alien. The person I displayed on that day, that person was the alien in me. He wasn't the natural person I live with day to day.
Yeah.
The person I am, when that person ain't around, when that person don't exist, that's who I truly am.
Well, we do have a question that's asking what exactly triggered you, because you saying that wasn't who you were, and then you did speak on the fact that you did do drugs that day. So What would you say triggered you?
What I say triggered me is I had if you was to look deeper, I was basically fresh out of the prison on another case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, I literally had to fight for a gun to save my life.
Yeah.
Now, in a situation like that, if you are the one who is able to live when your life is being threatened by a gun, and it's a fight to pursue prior to you getting the gun and saving your life. Well, I think that the trigger was my little brother trying to snatch that gun out of my hand. I think that at that moment, I felt like my life was being threatened. And I don't mean that, I know for a fact he wasn't going to try to kill me. But at that moment, and it being so freshly ingrained in me to respond a certain kind of way,
yeah,
to be a certain kind of person, I had no control mentally. And by me already dealing with things and lack of sleep, and I think there was a lot of variations that was going on that made that thing exist at that moment. Why don't it exist today? I have no idea. Do I work on myself daily? How do I work on myself? Any way I possibly can. I practice Islam as my religion. I stay in my game. I do a lot of things today that I didn't have knowledge or privy to back then that probably would have made a big difference in the outcome of my life. But those things were precursors to who I am today. It's hard to explain without a person being really knowledgeable in mental illness and things, but what I'm speaking about is a real thing. It really happened. It's research done on these things. It's not something that I'm talking about in order to cover up. I've never been a person throughout this whole situation to try to cover up my actions outside of the lie I told. But I've never denied my actions. Like, they found me at the crime scene. Like, I wasn't on the road, snatching up the highway, doing the OJ and like that. I was literally at the crime scene when the police got there.
So you was waiting for them, but why did you lie?
Because I didn't have an excuse to why I did it. And the first thing came to my mind, I promise you, was my mother.
Yeah.
I'm a witness to my mother and her struggle and her love for her children. So for me to have to tell my mother, I have no idea why your son is dead, but I did it. That just didn't sound right to me versus me making up a story that sounds more logical.
So you needed to give her some substance, some different kind of context to try to make it make sense.
I believe that's where my mind went. I believe my mind went to. I believe my mind went to a place where not only, and don't forget also that I'm a criminal to a certain extent. Where when you get caught or you do something that you know damn well you supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Okay, you gonna lie your way out of it. You absolutely right. Yep.
You're not thinking about telling the truth. The truth is what got you. The truth ain't gonna help me at the moment that I'm trying to make people understand that I'm tripping.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's gonna confirm that I was tripping. But I found out later that had I would have told the truth, I might have got more help that was required for me than the lie. The lie gave them a reason to lock me in.
Yeah.
The lie gave them a reason to prosecute me to the fullest extent of the law.
Right. Well, yeah, I see that on Judge Judy a lot. I watch Judge Judy literally every day. And on Judge Judy, you can't play with her. Ain't no playing with her. Like, not to just say, oh, I made a mistake. I elaborated the story just a little bit. No. That's not what you do. So, I mean, it's a lesson learned. It's a hard lesson learned. We have another question here that is getting a little nosy, but I want to know too. Why did your brother live with you and your wife? Well, I mean, did something happen?
Nah, he didn't live with me. Like, prior to me, my little brother had only, I had just bonded him out of jail probably about 2 or 3 days ago. Now, prior to me being locked up, my little brother was locked up also, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my mother had sold her home where we all had grew up at. So she was no longer living in her house. She lived actually farther in North Kansas City than I actually did. So, and on top of that, you know, he's fresh out the joint, man. He don't want to be up under his mama.
Right.
You know, not saying he don't love her, don't want to hang out with her, but you know, it's only so much you want to be around your mother when you a young fly guy, you know, who got women you want to bump into. You know, you want to enjoy being free. You know, and being with his older brother gives him that freedom. You know, my mother's not going to take him. You know, my mother's not going to take him to go. You know, fornicate with some girls. Even if she don't care, he's a grown man with his own child at this point. But you know,
he was still trying to be respectful. So being respectful was staying with you. So at least he had some freedom, and he still respected her at the same time. That's understandable. Okay, so he just needed a little space in order to get his feet together, in order to get on his feet. Okay. And then it just turned into a situation between you doing the drugs, you being triggered, you not knowing, you having these mental health issues, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So another question is, do you speak a lot to young men inside the prison about your situation as far as keeping them positive, or are you in a support group?
All of the above.
Okay.
I think if you was to do your research on me as a pillar of this community, that's what you will know about me, is that I share and I give the wisdom of my life to any and everybody who's willing to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And some people who ain't. You know, I volunteer my time, and I've done hospice. I've done the ESL program where I was a tutor, where I was helping people who were preparing themselves back to society. I mean, I got a lot of hats I wear throughout the prison, and you know, but yeah, of course, I strive, and I took pretty much every mental health class by psychiatrists they have in DOC. I've did any state issue treatment class required by the state. You know, I'm not just sitting here watching the paint dry.
Right.
You know, watching the peel.
You try to stay busy.
Active and, yeah, you know, I took the college preparatory class with SMU University. I'm waiting for a placement inside of a college program. I've already took the the college prep program. I got my certifications and all of that ready. I'm just, you know, I'm always trying to elevate myself in anything that I can do, because I've never been a person who didn't, you know, desire intellect or knowledge about the things around me. And, you know, that's part of my character anyway. Anybody who knows me gonna tell you, you know, I thrive in seeking knowledge.
Okay. Well, I know our time is running down, so it's winding down. So I'm gonna ask you about 3 more questions, and then we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping it up. But one question that what you was just speaking on actually reminds me to ask this question specifically. Do you feel like your life is over? Like, considering the amount of time that you have, considering the state of your relationships with your family?
Man, that's a good question. Well, I don't feel like my life is over because, you know, I got God in my life, and that's enough for me. My family, they're family. You know, we don't love each other when we love each other, and if we don't like each other, we ain't gonna talk until we love each other again.
Right.
Something to bring it back together. You know, I as a grown man, as a man who has lived basically a long time on my own, I've learned to live without a lot of the reliances on family that people normally thrive on. Once upon a time, I had that love, and I still love my family deeply, but I would not allow no one to cause me to lose my mental state that I possess today. I don't need to be reminded constantly of who I am or what I did. You know, so I will always protect that part of me. You know what I'm saying? And but at the same time, I will always give people a chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To be somebody different themselves. You know, I feel like truly, if I didn't contact the people in my life today, I would never talk to them anyway. You know what I mean? So if I'm not in their life, it's okay with me if they're not in my life because I've already mastered that part of living.
Right.
You know, if you go back in history, you'll read about people who at young ages they never saw their mother and father no more after they 9, 10 years old in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they disconnected. It's not guaranteed you're going to have family forever. That's a misconception that people have, that you will always be in touch with somebody who you love. Now, it's a great thing if it's possible. But what if it ain't? Would you give up on life or would you keep going forward? With me, I'm going to keep going forward. You know what I'm saying? Because my mother did her job when she got me here. You know what I mean? That was the only job she required. She raised me to an age where I started taking over doing things for myself. And for that reason, I got to continue on that same thing I started on, which is I got to be a man. I got to continue forward regardless if new people in my life or old people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I seek out better relationships too nowadays. Like, I no longer seek the relationships that are feeble, you know, that wither away. I seek real strong, positive relationships. You know what I'm saying? I interact with people who have things to speak about that don't have negativity built into them. I try to reflect in my own character the complete opposite of once reflected in society.
Right.
You know, so
yeah,
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Okay. Well, we have our last question, which is, if you could go back, what exactly is it that you would change?
Man. Are you referring to this specific situation?
This specific situation, along with the lifestyle that you've had, you know, leading you here pretty much.
Man. Well, I know one thing, that once upon a time I was an athlete who had a lot of potential, and I was a person who had a lot of I was intelligent, but I didn't fuel that intelligence with the work that was required to be successful at it. So if I had to, I would go all the way back to the beginning, to the moment I started realizing that I didn't need to do what I was supposed to be doing, that I realized today I know I should have been doing. And I don't know what that moment is. I ask myself all the time, you know what I'm saying? I ask myself all the time, you know, what exact moment would I have to change to fix my life? Because I'm going to keep it real, man. If I go back as far as I need to, and I don't never remember a point where I literally was like deliberately making bad decisions. Now, I might have made decisions that ended up bad, but I've never truly went into a decision like I plan on making the worst possible decision that I could possibly think of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never had that type of mentality. But for some reason, you know, it wasn't in the cards and a lot of things. So what I would say, I would just start over. Man, I'd probably go back to the age of 12 or 11, man. You know, and just be a different kind of brother, be a different kind of son, be more patient, be more accepting. You know, I would probably wish I had attributes that I didn't possess back then. I was impatient. I was mannish. You know, I was angry. I was bitter. You know what I'm saying? By me being the type of kid I recognized poverty at a young age. So I knew that, you know, money was fleeting. I knew that, you know, things wasn't available to me that I would see other people with. So attitudes like that only trigger you to do things you ain't got no business doing.
Right.
I would have been more patient in the moment.
Yeah,
you know, I would
no,
have been more patient.
I get that. And then now that you're practicing this specific religion, I'm sure that helps teach you patience as well. Because I know one thing that we tend to forget, that prison is prison. So you still got to deal with people on the inside who are different. And so you still got to practice patience, kindness, treating your neighbor, as you would want to be treated, all those things. So I understand. So as we wrap up, is there any last things that you would like to say um to our audience? This would be it for this specific segment. Hopefully we'll hear back from you again with any new updates or any new things that you're doing for yourself. But anything else that you would like to say to anybody that's listening?
I would say to everybody who's listening, thank you for showing concern, for having the for having the interest in my story, to allow me to tell you my story, and for anyone who's open-minded to recognize that, the flaws in character do exist, but they're not the measure of a man or woman. Anybody who is capable of forgiving wholeheartedly, I appreciate them type of people. I appreciate anybody who has a question or a thought process that allows forgiveness to be existing, because that's what is required when somebody truly is seeking redemption for their actions. They're seeking the forgiveness of all those they come into contact with, whether it's personal, face-to-face, over the phone, through the mail, whatever. So I just thank everybody for, paying attention to my story, and I appreciate anything you may want to do, anything you might want to ask me, feel free to contact Tommyelle, and then maybe, we can go further. And if you got somebody in your life who you won't talking to, if you feel like they're going down the wrong road, reach out to me. I have no problem with sharing whatever knowledge I have that I have accumulated over the years, to help anybody work through any situation that I have knowledge of. And once again, and to anybody who I've ever hurt, to my family, I love y'all. And I hope I haven't said anything to make you feel any other way than what my intentions was, which is to basically tell my story and use my story, which is our family story, to help somebody who may not, so they won't have to go through what we had to go through as a family. Any of it.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it like that.
Okay, well, again, I want to say thank you for taking your time out to do this. Thank you for calling me. You are always on time, and that makes me feel bad. So you have taught me to use my time wisely and to get myself together, so that way I can be better and to just on time with everything that I do. But I do appreciate you taking this time out again. You've had a great story. So we're gonna go ahead and end this. Give me 1 second. Hold on a second. Okay, so real quick, outside of the interview and asking personal questions about your specific story, before I go ahead and jump off, I got a few questions. So what is prison truly like? What does the food look like? Do men get raped often in there? Like, are men doing fellatio jobs for haircuts?
If you can think of it, it goes on. How about that?
Okay.
If you can think of it, it goes on. The food is probably the type of. If you know what an MRE is?
No, what's that?
It's one of them. It's a meal that they put if they get to the military when they in the field. It comes like a bucket.
Ugh.
It comes like a lunchbox,
like slop.
It's versions of that. It's different versions of slop. Yeah. And I'm not over exaggerating that. You ask anybody, I wish I could take a picture of it and send it to you so you can exactly see what I'm talking about. But everything has. But hey, it's prison. Like, they sell things, even though that shit costs $5 million now. You know what I'm saying? So
it is going up with inflation, so I can only imagine. But I told you that on Twitter, now called X, it's this black guy who I don't know his Twitter name, but he basically using his cell phone. And now that you've told me the difference between the federal prison and county, Now he might be actually in county, but he got a cell phone. He got an OnlyFans. He getting, he getting. I can't say violated because it looked consensual, but he doing stuff for a haircut. And how often do you see that? Do you know people that be on that?
Well, this is prison, so it's only a man who has a character of patience and strength is going to be able to fight against the cesspool of evil that exists in here. And evil comes in many forms. It comes in the form of homosexuality.
Okay.
It comes in the form of drug abuse. It comes in the form of bullying and theft and you name it. It goes on. Put it like this: everybody put in prison came here for a crime.
Mm-hmm.
That crime still exists when they get in here. So and then you got cliques, you got gangs, prison gangs, you got religious orders, you got religious groups,
Mm-hmm.
you got Aryan groups, you got white gangs, you got people who stab people, you got people who fight all the time, you got people who you got guards who work here who, they are part of the problem. They are part of the solution. They are, you got women guards here who, they get down how they live. You got men guards who like homosexuals. This is a microcosm without women of society.
It's a whole nother world over there. I wish y'all could have body cams on y'all jumpsuits. Are you even wearing orange? Are you wearing orange? Are you wearing what? Navy blue or something?
Yeah, we wear navy blue, gray, white. This is like I say, Orange is County. Yeah, they wear jumpsuits. We don't wear jumpsuits. We wear khaki pants, boots. If you dress like the khaki pants, boots.
Also, they give y'all the Dickies outfits. The Dickie outfit from Walmart, the matching sets.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what it be looking like.
Yeah.
They be having y'all clean because, it might be something basic, but when y'all be sending in pictures, matter of fact, I got pictures. I have pictures of Vincent for anybody who wants to see, but I didn't get them scanned in, so I would have to take pictures of the picture and then post it to Facebook. So check out my Facebook later if you all want to see what Vincent looks like today. He is, how old are you? You want to give your quick profile?
I'm 45.
40 fly. I like that. That was smooth. Okay. Do you have any children?
No, I do not.
Okay, all right.
Unfortunately.
Well,
eligible.
You eligible for kids? So if you was to get married, if you were to get married in prison right now, could you get conjugal? Could you get conjugal visits? I'm just asking, not that I'm volunteering. I'm asking.
As of right now, no, there's no such thing as conjugal visits, right? But there's always a loophole to be enjoyed.
Well, that's how them corrections officers get pregnant, huh? Behind the vending machine. To know that you made your baby behind the vending machine, how does that feel? I need to find me a corrections officer who then got pregnant in prison.
Yes, you do. And they're going to tell you it's the greatest 2 seconds of their life.
It's the adrenaline. It's the fear of getting caught and not getting caught. Wow. Okay. I know some people outside of prison that actually like that. So, that's that's the problem. That's the problem now. That's the issue with us. We got to get our lives together. All of us, those that's outside of prison and in prison, we need to get ourselves together. So I'll be working on me. But to go ahead and close this out, this is it for Cell Block Hotline. I am Tom Lane. Again, I want to thank Mr. Vincent Cooley for joining us, for doing this live, for doing the last 2 parts that I was able to put out. He has given me a lot of his background and a lot of his time. We would hope that something could come out of this in regards to maybe better prison reform here in here in Missouri. Though we have prison reform as a thing and would give it to inmates, it is not something that is made mandatory for inmates to have. We know several people. We won't drop names here because we don't want to be messy. And I know that y'all think that I like to stir the pot. But we do have a few people that came out of Sykeston that got a lot of money and went back to prison because of decisions and things that have been made. So maybe we can take something away from Vincent's situation and know that if we have been in prison, if we are out of prison now, to stay on the right path. Andrew, I see you. I see you because you know I do. You know, I do know somebody. I know a few people. But it's the point of it all is to be able to take away from our situation, learn a lesson in order to grow from it and be better citizens. And we would want the justice system to perfect itself as we want the world and Joe Biden to perfect themselves, as we want Joe Biden to perfect himself and wake up. All right. We need better prison reform. We need people who are getting out of prison to get counseling. We need them to heal. We need them to have the resources that they were promised, like 40 acres and a mule. You see how I keep catching these puns? Okay. So we actually had somebody who just commented that I'm just saying though. I was just asking about that situation. Look, I've asked over and over, but one thing that I've learned that if you have priors and you committed a crime after some priors, that determines your sentencing. On top of that, that specific person has not had his record clean, though he was set up by the police department. After being set up, they never cleaned his record. And so then coming out and committing another crime, it was easier to be able to send them back. As far as I know, they haven't taken his money, but you know, the court system and the court fees would do that within itself. So I would hope that we can get better prison reform. So that way these good people, or these men who have made mistakes, men or women who have made mistakes, can get another chance at life and be able to be better citizens. So I'm not going to keep you all too much longer, but I want to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. This has been great. I appreciate Mr. Cooley again. And next time you all tune in, I will have a new visitor by the name of Mr. Mark Hammond. So please stay tuned and we will have more coming to you all soon. Y'all have a good night and thank you.